Some people think walking away is weakness. They think if you leave, you gave up. But what if leaving was the bravest thing she ever did? What if staying would have destroyed her completely? This is not the story of a woman who quit love. This is the story of a woman who chose herself. She walked away because she had self-respect. If this is your first time on our channel, hit the subscribe button and join our family. Because stories like these need to be heard. Now, let's begin. Her name was Alyssa Monroe. And when she loved in quiet ways that most people never noticed. Not with grand gestures, not with dramatic words, but with her presence, her patience, her constant choice to stay. She was the kind of woman who paid attention to the smallest changes. The way your voice softened when you were tired. The way your smile became crooked when life felt heavy. The way your silence meant more than 1,000 arguments ever could. She felt things deeply. Not because she wanted to suffer, but because she cared. And she loved Jason Parker like people only love once in a lifetime. Not because he had everything. Not because he was easy to love. Not because he made her life perfect. She loved him because she believed in the version of him that he couldn't see yet. When Jason talked about his dreams of starting his own business, she listened longer than anyone else. When he doubted himself, she stood in front of his fear like a wall. She told him, "Alyssa, you might not see it now, Jason, but one day, you're going to make it. And when you do, I'll just be proud I believed in you when no one else did." And at first, he loved that about her. Her belief, her loyalty, her patience. But slowly, the more she gave, the more he got used to it. He stopped saying thank you. He stopped noticing how tired she looked after her double shifts. He stopped asking how her day went. He stopped trying. Because to Jason, her love became something permanent. Something guaranteed. Something that didn't need care. But Alyssa wasn't built to be a background presence. She was a heartbeat. And every heartbeat deserves to be heard. Yet, she kept giving. She kept showing up. Even when she felt herself fading. Even when loving him started feeling like holding water in her hands and watching it drip out, one drop at a time. And the saddest part, Jason didn't notice she was drowning. Because she never screamed. Jason Parker wasn't a monster. He didn't raise his voice in public. He didn't slam doors. He didn't leave bruises. But what he did was worse in a quieter way. He slowly erased her, without even trying. And the tragedy was, he didn't even realize he was doing it. He had gotten used to her presence. Like the way you get used to a lamp in the corner of your bedroom. It's always there, so you stop noticing its light. He came home late almost every night. Not because he was cheating. Not because he hated her. But because somewhere along the way, being away became easier than being present. Alyssa never complained at first. She just waited, on the couch, by the window, with cold dinner plates and warm hope. Until one night, her chest couldn't carry it anymore. She stood in the kitchen, arms crossed, not angry, just tired. When he finally walked in, loosening his tie, she spoke softly, as if raising her voice would break her completely. "Alyssa, Jason, do you even notice when I stop talking?" He dropped his keys on the counter carelessly. Not looking at her. Not asking her how her day was. Just focused on his phone. "Jason, I've had a long day, babe. Can we not do this right now?" Her jaw tightened. Not because she wanted an argument, but because she was tired of begging for 10 minutes of his attention. "Alyssa, I'm not trying to do anything. I feel like I'm fading inside this relationship." He finally looked up. But his eyes had no warmth. "Jason, You're still here, aren't you? You're breathing. You're fine. Her eyes filled with quiet tears. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just standing there. Heavy. Alyssa, no, Jason. I'm surviving. And love isn't supposed to feel like survival. He scoffed slightly. Jason, you're too emotional. Always taking things too personally. She stared at him. Her voice broke, but she kept it low. Alyssa, I wouldn't have to take it personally if you ever thought about me personally. Silence fell between them. Not the kind of silence couples share when they're comfortable, but the kind where something dies quietly and no one notices in the moment. He walked past her, turned on the TV, sat down, like the conversation never happened, and Alyssa just stood there, feeling like a guest in her own relationship. And for the first time, she didn't cry. She just realized something slowly sinking deep inside her. He wasn't hurting her because he hated her. He was hurting her because he no longer cared enough to notice. The moment she started waking up, Alyssa didn't wake up all at once. It didn't happen with a slap, or a breakup, or a dramatic fight. It happened the slowest way possible. Through observation. Through quiet realizations. Through repeated patterns. She started noticing how his love had conditions. He only listened when she cried. He only softened when she threatened to leave. He only held her when she was already breaking. And even then, it never lasted. One evening, the dining table stood between them like a wall. 2 plates. Cold food. Colder silence. Jason scrolled through his phone, uninterested. Alyssa watched him. Not with anger. With sadness. And clarity. She finally spoke, her voice calm, not shaking, not accusing, just honest. Alyssa, when I talk to you, do you actually hear me? Or do you just wait until I stop? He didn't even lift his head. Just tapped his screen. Jason, I don't have the energy for this right now. Her eyebrows tightened slightly. Not hurt. Disappointed. Alyssa, you haven't had energy for me in months, Jason. He sighed. Hard. Like she was a burden, not a partner. Jason, you're always making things bigger than they are. Her fingers curled tightly around her fork. Her food untouched. Alyssa, no, I'm just finally seeing things for what they are. He looked up then, his expression defensive, annoyed. Jason, you're too sensitive. You take everything personal. She gave a soft, tired smile. Not sarcastic. Not bitter. Just aware. Alyssa, I take it personally because it is personal. This is my heart you're stepping on, not a draft of a project. He shifted in his chair. Uncomfortable. Not because he hurt her, but because she was saying things he didn't want to hear. Jason, you're impossible to please. Her voice softened, but carried something new. Distance. Alyssa, no. Jason, I'm just finally realizing that I'm starving in a place that once fed me. He went silent. But not because he understood. Because he had nothing else to deflect with. And in that moment, she didn't feel angry. She didn't feel like screaming. She felt awake. A painful kind of clarity. She realized something. He wasn't trying to understand her. He wasn't confused. He just didn't want to change. And worse, he didn't think she was worth the effort. That night, lying beside him in bed, she stared at the ceiling and whispered to herself, "You can't keep watering a plant that dies every time you touch it." That's when the shift happened. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just silent. But permanent. She wasn't planning to leave yet. But emotionally, she had already stepped away. And this time, not out of anger, but out of self-respect. A few weeks passed. and something inside Alyssa changed. She stopped explaining herself, stopped over-communicating, stopped begging him to care. Not because she didn't love him, but because she was tired of proving she deserved to be loved. Jason thought things had finally calmed down. No arguments. No late-night tears. No serious talks. To him, silence meant peace, but he didn't realize. Silence only came when someone stops fighting. That evening, the front door clicked shut softly. Alyssa walked in. Not rushed, not emotional, just calm. A dangerous kind of calm. She placed her keys on the table slowly, as if placing the final period after a sentence she had been writing for years. Jason glanced up from the couch. He noticed immediately. Her face. Too still. Too distant. Jason, you've been really quiet lately. What's going on with you? She didn't answer right away. She set her back down, took off her coat, moved like someone who already made a decision. Then she spoke, soft, clear. Alyssa, because I realized something. His forehead creased. Jason. Realized what? She finally looked at him. Straight. No anger. No accusation. Just truth. Alyssa, I kept lowering my standards, so you wouldn't have to raise yours. The air changed. He leaned back slowly, crossing his arms. Uncomfortable, but trying to stay in control. Jason, so what? You're just gonna quit now? Her eyes never left his. Her voice didn't break, but you could hear her pain behind it. Alyssa, no, Jason. I'm not quitting you. A pause, a deep breath, then, Alyssa, I'm finally choosing myself. He looked away for a second, clenched his jaw. Jason, so all this time, all these years with you, they meant nothing? Her eyes filled with tears, but her voice remained steady, not weak, not shaking, just wounded and honest. Alyssa, they meant everything, but they cost me my self-worth. She swallowed the lump in her throat. Alyssa, and I refuse to pay that price anymore. He stood up this time, pacing, confused, defensive. Jason, so what? You're just walking away like it's nothing. She shook her head slowly. Alyssa, no. I'm walking away because it meant everything. He stopped pacing, looked at her like he didn't recognize her anymore. Jason, you're being dramatic. She gave a sad half smile. Alyssa, no, Jason. I'm being honest. With you, and with myself for the first time in a long time. A long silence lingered. No shouting, no tears falling. Just two people standing in the ruins of something that once felt like forever. Then she spoke one last time. Her final truth. Alyssa, you didn't lose me today. You lost me every time you made me feel small. He froze, stung, speechless. She picked up her bag, walked past him slowly, not because she hated him, but because she finally loved herself more. And this time, she didn't look back. The next morning arrived, quiet, heavy, unforgiving. No dramatic storm outside. No thunder, just sunlight falling through the curtains like life pretending everything was normal when nothing was. Alyssa stood in front of the closet, not rushing, not crying, just folding. Each piece of clothing held a memory. Her hands didn't shake, because she had already cried enough for a lifetime. She wasn't packing anger. She was packing closure. Jason leaned against the bedroom doorframe, silent, watching, not knowing whether to stop her or let her go. He had never seen her like this before. Not emotional, not begging, not explaining, just done. He swallowed hard. Jason, you're really doing this, aren't you? You're just walking away. Just like that. Alyssa didn't even turn. She zipped her bag slowly. The sound was calm. Final. Alyssa. I walked towards you for years, while you stood perfectly still. Her voice wasn't angry. It was exhausted. A different kind of tired. The kind that doesn't argue anymore. She picked up the suitcase. Jason stepped closer. Too close. Jason. So that's it. You're just leaving. Like everything meant nothing. She finally turned around. Looked at him. Not with hatred, but sadness. A soft sadness that has already accepted reality. Alyssa, no. Jason. I'm not leaving. A pause. Her fingers tightened around the handle. Alyssa, I'm returning to myself. His face broke a little. He tried to speak, tried to find something. Anything to hold her? Jason. What about us? She looked around the room. The bed, the window, the walls that had heard every argument. Every broken promise, every silent night. Then she answered quietly. Alyssa, we were never us, Jason. It was me trying and you surviving. Silence swallowed the air. He didn't move. He didn't stop her. Because deep down, he knew she had already left long before today. She walked to the door. Not fast. Not slow. Just definite. A step. Then another. Then before leaving, she turned back one last time. Not to beg. Not to plead. Just to give him the truth. Alyssa. You didn't lose me today. You lost me every time you chose comfort over effort. Then she opened the door. Light poured in. She stepped forward. Out of the life that kept shrinking her. And into the life that would finally let her breathe. Not because she stopped loving him. But because she finally started loving herself more. Weeks passed. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just slowly, like water dripping through a cracked ceiling. At first, Jason pretended he was fine. He told himself he needed space. He told his friends he was better off. He convinced himself she was just emotional. That she would come back like she always did. But this time, the apartment stayed silent. No footsteps in the hallway. No humming in the kitchen. No way her fingers tapped the table when she was thinking. He noticed things he used to ignore. Her mug still sitting on the top shelf. Her hairpin on the bathroom counter. A sweater she forgot behind the couch. He picked it up one day. Held it close. And for the first time, he didn't feel angry. He felt empty. Not lonely. Empty. A different kind of pain. The kind that doesn't hurt loudly, but stays forever. Nights became unbearable. The bed felt colder. The left side untouched. The air heavier. He started remembering things differently. Not just the fights, but the way she used to look at him before her eyes got tired. The way she used to laugh too hard at his jokes when she was still trying. The way she would wait for him with food already cold while he stayed out late. He thought back to the nights she begged him to listen. He called her dramatic. He called her too sensitive. He called her a problem. But she was never the problem. She was the warning. He just chose not to listen. One night, he sat alone on the floor of the living room. His back against the couch. The same place she once cried while he scrolled his phone. He looked up at the ceiling and whispered to no one. Jason, you didn't leave because you stopped loving me. You left because I made you feel alone even when I was right there. His voice broke. And for the first time, he didn't try to fix anything. He didn't blame her. He didn't blame the world. He just let the truth hit him. Slow, heavy, real. He opened his phone. Scrolled through old messages. The ones he ignored. The ones he replied later to. The ones he never replied to at all. And there it was. A text she sent weeks before leaving. Greater than. I don't want to fight anymore. I just want to feel chosen, at least once. He stared at it for a long time, not knowing what hurt more, her words, or the fact that it was now too late to respond. And that's when he finally understood. Some women don't walk away because they stopped loving you. They walk away because they loved you so much. They forgot how to love themselves. Until one day, they remembered. And when they do, they never come back to the place that taught them how to suffer. The final emotional message is, sometimes, the strongest people don't raise their voice. They raise their standards. And when they walk away, they don't do it with anger. They do it with self-respect. So, if this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of someone, or maybe even yourself, don't forget to like, share, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Because more stories like this are coming. And some stories aren't just entertainment. They're lessons.